Has your home been smelling a bit weird? Breathe easy with a Home Labs dehumidifier. They can remove up to 50 pints of moisture per day. Home Labs offers great features like pumps, easy-to-use control panels, and auto shutoff. They've got over 50,000 reviews on Amazon, and they're energy efficient and Energy Star rated. Check out Home Labs' full line of dehumidifiers at homelabs.com and use code IHEARTHOMELABS for extra savings. Home Labs. Welcome home.
Watermelon is not just summer's fun fruit, but it is your family's budget-friendly fruit because you can use the whole watermelon. Use the rind, eat the fruit, drink the juice. And watermelon is versatile. Get creative and incorporate into savory salads, sweet sorbets, breakfast smoothies, and nighttime cocktails. Watermelon is juicy. Watermelon is tasty. Just look at the rind. It leaves a smile on your mind. Visit watermelon.org for summer recipes and how you can use the whole watermelon.
You're listening to 100 Words or Less with Ray Harkins. What's happening, podcast humans? Welcome to yet another episode of this show where we discuss punk, hardcore, indie rock, emo, metal, whatever it is, as long as you are involved with it. That is who I care to discuss and find more about, because that gets us really connected to these bands and this whole scene. The older I get, the more I care about documenting this. And that's why this podcast still exists. I actually got on a phone call and was talking to somebody, and they said that, you're a podcast legend. I was like, I don't wake up every morning and say that to myself in the mirror, but, doing this for over 10 years, this is cool, and I really like it. But anyways, I digress. I have a great episode, a live episode from LDB Fest in Louisville, Kentucky. I was able to go out there, record some live chats, and in front of a studio audience, like we're, at like a television studio, but in front of an audience of people who were, interested in watching the discussions play out in real time. But I have Emma from Dying Wish, the awesome vocalist. She's a previous guest of the show, and we've since become friends. She's a nice human, and it was great to be able to have her there. And then some new friends, Jack and Tyler from the band Foreign Hands, who are absolutely killing themselves out on the road. And killing themselves, it makes it sound bad, but, really, really doing the work out there on the road. And I was able to have a discussion with them. I had never met them before, enjoyed their band, and was excited to have that chat. So 2 chats for the price of 1. Like I said, it was at the awesome LDB Fest. I look forward to attending it next year. It was, just a really, really cool experience because, it is homegrown in their backyard, and it just feels like it's getting so much momentum, which is really, really cool. So that's what we got for that. If you want to spread the word of this show and help out the show for absolutely $0, you can leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or leave a rating on Spotify. Those things help out tremendously. I'm also going to be going over to the Outbreak Festival at the end of June, talking to some bands, doing the whole live podcast thing there. So I look forward to, meeting some of you, seeing some of you who I met last year, and we will be launching an official Outbreak podcast, which I'm excited to partner with them on. It'll be a whole separate feed. I'll promote it here so you guys know where to find those discussions. But it's going to be, a little bit of a different flavor than what this show offers, which is great because, that's the whole point of podcasts, to offer something slightly different than those that have come before you. So just some things that are happening. And hopefully you have a great rest of your day after you listen to these discussions. First up will be Emma from A Dying Wish, and then I'll do a little, intro for the next chat, and then we will have Jack and Tyler from Foreign Hands. So here we go. Here's Emma.
And she kindly said yes. So yes, give it up for Emma from Dying Wish.
Hi, everybody.
It does feel like super professional, like we were doing, like you said, a post-game conference.
I feel like I'm a politician.
Right, yeah. It's like Emma's going to walk you through her 10-point plan to take over the punk and hardcore scene. And then, do you have the PowerPoint?
Yeah, I have a Powerpoint. Where's the...
Okay, yeah. We'll lower down the... yeah. But anyways, thank you for being here. And this is the last one, and that's why she's drinking a White Claw to just, really...
We're celebrating a win today.
Yeah. Maybe I'll drink that and break my edge. No way, Emma. I would not do that. Gosh. Not like you even said that. Well, I'll start it off with a funny story because I took my 11-year-old child to watch you play at the House of Blues Anaheim in Southern California. My kid does not like heavy music. It's the worst, so it's like he was already terrified to go, but I was like, you should meet some of my friends. They're cool. And so he watched probably a song and a half of you play, and it was very funny because as an 11-year-old, he doesn't hear a lot of swear words.
Oh.
And so he was like, he's like, Daddy, she swears more than some of the YouTubers I see. And I thought that was like not only the most innocent thing, but also really, really funny. And I'm sure you would appreciate that.
Yeah. They don't let me around kids usually because I have a potty mouth.
But that dovetails into my question where it's like, I imagine many people that like know you and then obviously see you play. It's not like you're putting on a stage show per se where it's like, I'm a completely different Emma. But how do people react to where it's like, here's the Emma that we see in front of us right now, and then here's the Emma that is, swearing up on stage and jumping around?
There's this meme on Twitter that's like the Chihuahua that's like a vocalist on stage versus at the merch table, and that one is 100% me because I am like kind of a sweet and like honestly pathetically like nice person sometimes.
Sure.
And then like, I don't know, just being on stage, that's like kind of where I let my inner demons out. So I think I surprise people that know me personally when they come to see me play, and then also vice versa.
Right.
Quite a bit.
Right. And then for the people that like obviously know you through your music, and then they are maybe honestly probably being like, I'm kind of scared of Emma. I don't know if I can like go up and like talk to her after I see her play.
Yeah.
No, it's not like anybody's going to say that directly to your face where it's like, hey, you're scary, but I'm talking to you.
They do, though.
They do
that? Yeah, honestly.
What I guess on that tip, what the interactions that you obviously have where people are like, I thought one thing and then, you were another. Like, what is the funniest example that you can kind of think of where people are, saying those things where it's like, I thought you were scary, but you're actually not that bad?
Well... I remember when I started dating Jeremy, he was like, you kind of scare me a little bit.
Oh, he was so you intimidated your future significant other.
Yeah.
Which is fair.
Right.
Especially because did you guys met on tour together?
We did, yeah.
Okay, right. So I totally, where it's like after a few shows, like warming up to each other as far as like bands getting to know each other on tour, and then
well, also like I just take Dying Wish like so seriously, and I guess I can kind of be a serious person, but outside of that I'm not really a serious person at all. So I guess, but so I don't know, I think I have a lot of people tell me like you're just so nice, or like people tell me that they think I'm like bigger, but I'm actually a pretty small person. And maybe it's because the stage today is like 7 feet tall.
Sure.
But, which by the way, if anyone was stage diving, congratulations. That was terrifying.
That's a feat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, especially at some fests and or shows where you're like, this, not only is this stage taller than me, but like no one should really dive off it for obvious bodily harm purposes.
Yeah, but if you don't care, then that's awesome. I respect it.
No, yeah.
That's what the core is about, honestly.
Absolutely. Well, actually, that segues nicely into a question that I've been asking all of the bands here. And to be clear, there's no wrong answer, so don't feel like you're put on the spot, so to speak. But I am putting you on the spot. Okay. Stage dives or sing-alongs? And that can be towards you as a person at shows, which you prefer, or it can also be in like what you want people to react to your band like. So again, no wrong answer, Emma.
I don't know, sing-alongs. Maybe it's because I'm the singer. Is that a selfish answer?
That's you have every right to do that.
Yeah, I think probably that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. And would you also flip that on yourself, or it's like if you are participating at a show from a physical perspective, are you singing along or are you diving?
If I'm really going for it, I'm a stage diver.
Okay.
I do the move where I like plant my hands on someone's shoulders in the front and then like cartwheel myself off, so I like can land on my feet if I need to. But,
okay.
I'm not really much of a crowd participator. Is that like a really hypocritical thing to say?
No.
I don't do that anymore. Like I do sometimes for like smaller shows that I book in Portland. Like, you know, I don't really mosh, but like maybe I'll two-step every once in a while. But
sure. You'll
otherwise,
activate
I
the crowd.
normally kind of like, I really like to watch because I think I have more fun watching everyone involve more than I like to
yourself.
be involved. It just gives me anxiety. I don't know. Is that
Sure? No, that's again. There's no wrong answer. This is just seeing. How, I mean, that I think it does. I mean, especially I'm as an old person, like I'm over the age of 40, where it's like I shouldn't. Funny story. Trey from X Weapon X. He was on. I interviewed him yesterday, and he made me feel 175 years old when he called like older hardcore, like the oldies, and I was like.
The oldies.
And I was like, what the fuck? Like, God, I feel, again, 175 years old.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I'm 28, which doesn't seem that old, but I feel old. I've been going to shows for over a decade, so
right.
I feel like I'm an old head at this point, kind of.
It is old. I think once you've been involved over 7 years, that's when you're just considered old.
Yeah, you get like a badge and you can retire.
You get a gold watch or, all that stuff. There are times, so Dying Wish, especially over the past 18 months, you've literally never been home, like pretty much.
Yeah. The most I've been home in the last year was like probably 2 months.
Yeah.
2 months. Yeah.
Yeah. I like how you have to look at Jeremy for a double check. Yeah. Is that right? Is that right?
Yeah.
So that is a relentless tour schedule, and most people, like, they can't cope with that. I mean, either they do and they obviously get through it, and then they come home and then they want to just like cry in a corner for a couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. Not saying that you don't cry in a corner. It's totally fine. But how have you, I guess, kind of, because you are very, at least in my opinion, conscious of yourself, conscious of your well-being, generically speaking. How did you manage that huge undertaking of all the relentless touring you did?
Therapy.
Sure.
Yeah, last year was really hard. It pushed me to a point where I was like, if I'm going to do this, like, this is definitely a reality check for me, but I am really happy that I did it. I think that I have the hardest time with like the energy switch when I get home. I like really struggled being home because, I kind of just think about this all the time.
Yep.
And it's hard, like going from, living in a van for 4 months and then going home and like not having a job and, just being surrounded by people constantly and then like totally isolating myself and not seeing anybody at all. Like, it's just such a weird like dichotomy. And it's hard. And I'm like, honestly, I struggle to cope with it a lot of the time, but I just think that keeping myself busy is probably the biggest thing, like hobbies outside of music, which helped a lot during the pandemic too. I started like arts and crafts. Like, I literally bought a coloring book the other day for some reason, just because I was like, I need something outside of music to like keep my brain busy because it's so overactive.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what, like, the idea of therapy. I mean, clearly there's much less of a stigma in society about that now than what it was like 5 years ago, where it's like, oh, you only go to therapy if you're crazy or whatever. And so, like, were you doing like online therapy where you could like dipping in and out of that as you needed it, or how did you interact with that? I did like some remote sessions, but like when I was home, I was going to see a person every week, which really helped. I recommend it. Honestly, phone sessions are pretty cool. Yeah. But in-person sessions, like there's like different work that they can do. I did something recently called parts therapy, which is like kind of hypnotic, which I don't think is something that you could do over the phone. Sure. So that kind of stuff like really helps me and works for me. But yeah. No, that's well. Yeah, you want to, because all therapists do is obviously give you tools in order to be like, oh, so this is what I do out in the real world when I'm like freaking out and going to go cry in a corner at a show when I'm like, I can't play the 40th show in a row. Like, I just literally can't do it. I can't go on stage. Yeah, that's the thing. I'm sure you had those moments. I literally, when I worked a day job, I would call out all the time. Like, when I went to high school, I literally almost dropped out because I never went to school. But like, this is a job where you can never do that. No. And so it's like really struggled, or I've like really kind of struggled with that, like
being on all day, every day. But I mean, I sound like an asshole. I'm not taking it for granted, but
no. And I asked that not to be like, oh, look at this, whiny brat. Like, oh, I sing for a hardcore band. It's so hard. But it's like just that idea of no matter what it is you're doing, either creatively or obviously, from a job perspective, it's like you gotta have things outside of that in order to be able to take care of yourself.
Yeah, that's been a huge thing, is like having a personal life. I didn't allow myself to have for a long time. And, I'm like moving away from Portland. We're going to move to Nashville. So like having that, like, okay, I can have this separation between my work life and my personal life is the first time I've ever done that since being in this band. And it's almost been 6 years.
Right.
So it's like, that's cool. I'm learning that process.
You're like, I learned how to be a human outside of Emma Dying Wish.
I am obsessed with music, so yeah.
Sure, it's understandable.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of on that same tip, like the idea, I know we briefly spoke about this like when we did our original podcast together, but just the idea that so much attention gets paid to you as a front person, like regardless of... And you become the focal point for so many people being like, oh, I want to tell you all of my, deepest inner issues because you expressed it in a song, so I want to tell you about it. And how have you, I'm sure you have learned things, obviously, about yourself, whether to make yourself available or unavailable for those things. And how has that process been as well?
Honestly, I love that part of it. I've like embraced it a lot. Anything positive keeps me going. Because I try not to read comments, but you just inevitably like get sucked into the YouTube bullshit. Like sometimes, you drop a new song or you drop a Hate 5-6 video and you want to see what people say, and people say weird shit, especially Lamb Goat and all of that. And so
classic Lamb Goat.
I live for the positivity. So anytime anyone relates to anything or wants to share their story with me, or I've seen Dying Wish this many times and blah, 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 like that, anything like that, I love, and I will always create space for that.
Yeah, which is cool because it does, since it does take so much emotional energy for people to do that in general, even if you strike me as an extrovert to a certain extent, and then you maybe cut yourself off or like, like you said, I gotta not talk to anybody for a while.
Right, yeah.
But that just, no matter where you land on that spectrum, it's still very tiring.
It's a lot, but I try not to take it for granted, and because there's people that have the assumption that this band is just like got big out of nowhere, and like we were a local band for a long time, and we were grinding it out, and I never expected it to get here at all. I never thought I would be doing something like this. Yeah. I was just like, I just wanted to start a band and have fun. I worked retail, you know what I mean? It was just kind of a thing, and so as it's progressed and we've gotten bigger, like having to embrace that as we go has been interesting. But
totally, yeah, cool. Something it's part of the job. It's the same idea where it's like, you're working at retail and so customer comes in and complains to you and she's like, I didn't do that, but I guess I gotta solve this or whatever. But that obviously people interacting with your songs is a much more positive experience overall.
Exactly.
Now that you have played like a lot of different festivals and you've attended festivals, like when I talk about certain moments that, stand out to you, either playing a festival or just like simply watching a band kind of, playing a set that just blows your mind where it's like, oh, this is like their coming out, show or whatever. What rattles around in your brain in regards to that for you playing in a band and then you just attending fests and kind of watching bands play?
I think like the biggest thing that resonates with me is when you can hear the crowd over everything. Like that moment to me gives me a feeling like I've never experienced before. Whether it's a Dying Wish show or, Knocked Loose later, obviously that's going to be chaos and a lot of that. So those kind of moments are huge. And like also I am a slut for a circle pit.
Oh, okay.
I feel like we had one going earlier, which was super awesome. But Dying Wish, we have a lot of fast parts, so circle pits are awesome, and like a huge circle pit is like that really gets me going as well.
Right.
Yeah. Not to put slut and that
gets you going. Yeah. It, you're like, you know what really flips my switch? Like circle pits, just straight up. Yeah. But I mean, it does. There is an element of like. Because a circle pit usually just doesn't start out of nowhere. Like usually you as the vocalist, have to kind of try to maybe push people along for that. So
yeah, it's a lot of commanding, and I share the weight with Pedro, our guitar player. He's pretty good at that. So
right, yeah, you're like,
he likes to be bossy.
Right, Pedro, why don't you lean into the circle pit this time?
Yeah.
There is especially with the, every band obviously being extremely public, whether it's the individual members or obviously you have to constantly feed the algorithm, so to speak. And for you personally, like, there is an element of, interest just because it's like, oh yeah, you sing for a band, so I want to know everything that, Emma likes just because.
Yeah.
So how do you kind of filter through the idea of like sharing versus not sharing? Like, there's clearly, a delineation that has to happen. So how have you kind of gone through that process?
I will like draft things.
Okay.
Like, I want to be personal because like I'm a very real person, and I think that that's like important to see. I hate modern social media culture and the way that everything is like curated to make it seem like certain people have the best life ever.
Yep.
I don't, you know what I mean? Like, my life is awesome. I like things about it, but I'm human too. And so I think it's good to be honest and real, but like, there's also like a vulnerability in sharing parts of you publicly. So, there are things personally that I go through that I don't necessarily like to wear on my sleeve, but in order to kind of filter that, I'll like sit on a draft for a couple days and be like, do I want to share that? You know what I mean?
Right.
I think that helps a lot because otherwise I'll just like immediately, if I just post something, then I'll like lose sleep over it. Like, did I overshare with people? Like,
Sure.
Did I let people in too much? Like, I don't want to be the subject of somebody else's conversation necessarily. Like, perception is really weird to me. So I guess that would be
right. Wait, so acting on an impulse, like, and just putting it out there, like, that's unreasonable.
I am kind of an impulsive person, so I've had to unlearn that. And I in the past have been very personal on social media, but as more people are constantly watching me, I try to kind of protect my energy a little bit by not allowing them to see all of those pieces of me. It's very vulnerable and scary. So
Sure. Well, yeah. I mean, it's ultimately being mindful about not only yourself and like what you can, kind of put out there without obviously you just completely exposing yourself. And so, yeah, and then on the flip side, there's that idea where it's just like, oh yeah, this person feels like they're just a manicured version of themselves. Like, I know that life isn't awesome all the time.
Right. Well, it's also just like, I think that because so many people are watching, like, people could take things that I say the wrong way. So I feel like I have to like be really careful about the things that I say. Not that I'm like inherently problematic, but you know what I mean? Like, it's just like kind of scary thinking that people are always going to look to be offended by something that you say maybe. And so I try to avoid that.
Right. Yeah, you try to avoid wading in that water.
Yeah. I avoid, just like certain parts of my personality that, might come off. If someone doesn't know me and want to have a conversation with me, they wouldn't understand that I was kidding about something or...
Yeah, sure. Right. Yeah. It's like sarcasm doesn't come through the screen as well as it does in person, where they're reading your body language and be like, you're just joking about
Twitter is literally for jokes.
Right.
I'm just going to put that out there. If I ever see something on Twitter, or if you ever see something I say on Twitter that you kind of like raise a brow, I'm joking.
Right,
so,
right. Yeah. The tongue is firmly in the cheek.
Yeah.
Calm down. The last thing I wanted to hit was the fact that, now that you have come through the other end of the touring cycle, and obviously are planning, future music releases, etc., that demand will obviously ramp up again, but I'm sure that you have learned something about either the way that the band operates or yourself over this past, year and a half or so. Is there anything that you're looking forward to, I guess, doing differently? Or is it basically like, no, we're going to do pretty much what we did previously?
Oh, I mean, last year we did 5 U.S. tours.
That's a lot.
And this year we'll do maybe 2.
Okay.
So... And we're going to do a record. So, I mean, there's no way we could do 5 more U.S. tours on this album cycle. Like, we would burn it to the ground. One thing that I saw Counterparts do last year was, they had one of their tours get canceled. But because they hadn't played a show in such a long time and then they put out a record, the demand was really high. And so I think that, because we toured so much last year and we're probably not going to do anything. I mean, we're definitely not touring in the US for the first 6 months of the year.
Right.
But like, because we're not doing anything, it's going to kind of raise that question of like, what has Dying Wish been doing? And we're literally in the studio right now doing a record. So I think that is just as important to the whole process, if not more, to like really nail the second record. That's our goal is, you know, we don't want a sophomore slump. We want to live up to the hype. We want to elevate the band into this new level that I think we can accomplish. And so kind of just like raising the question, like, where is Dying Wish? What have they been working on? Creating that anticipation for what's to come and, you know, hopefully live up to that once we do tour and put out a record.
Right.
Yeah.
The idea that, I mean, it especially, I think when you're, you know, younger and just starting to go to shows, like you don't even understand the concept of tour, where it's like the band just shows up and you watch them and you're just like, oh, but they're not from here. And like, oh, and then you start to understand the logistics of it. But then you understand where it's like, oh, like this is the 9th time that this band has come through in a year and a half. Like, do I need to see them the 9th time? Like, no, I'm going to make those decisions. And so, yeah, to your point of being like, yeah, hopefully the next time we come through, these shows will be, you know, a little more quote unquote special than us just coming through again to be like, yo, you want to hear some version of the set that we already did like 3 months ago?
I mean, we played the same set for like 3 tours. So, yeah.
Well, and I mean, to be fair, I mean, you're obviously touring with Limp Bizkit. So, like, clearly a person that is playing.
That was
like,
cool.
Right.
Yeah.
I loved going to that show just specifically to be like, how are people going to react to a hardcore band playing in front of Limp Bizkit crowds? And you did well. Honestly,
the first show that we played with Limp Bizkit sucked.
Yeah.
I hated it. I was like, this is crazy.
We're done. We're off the tour. Yeah.
It didn't suck, but I was like, this is so different. And then I just kind of realized, like, you have to make the adjustment, not the crowd. The crowd will make the adjustment if you go up there and just pretend like this is something you know that you're doing. Even though we had never played in that kind of environment before to those kind of people, we just adapted and acted like, you know, that was our crowd.
Is normal.
And
this is normal.
It worked. Yeah, it was cool.
It is that level of, I mean, I think 95% of life is walking somewhere with like any level of confidence. Yeah. And when you do that, when you're just like, all right, yeah, we've been here. Like, of course we've played this gigantic venue in front of 10,000 people.
Literally earlier, I was telling him, I was like, I don't think anybody at this fest is going to care. We're not like a cool band. Like, you know, we're just like a metalcore band from Portland. Like, who cares? And then we had an insane set. And so, you know, but we tried to act like confident, even though in the back of my head I was like, I don't know if this is gonna work, but
you're like, we're playing at 4, maybe someone will be inside watching us, maybe. No, but that you just project some level of confidence and people will be like, yo, I'm into that, like they belong here.
I think there was a quote from the show Euphoria where Maddie was like, confidence is fake. And I totally relate to that.
Right, yeah. You're like, that's how I step out of bed every single day.
Yeah, confidence is fake. Yeah.
Well, Emma, we did it. Thank you very much. Everybody, give it up for
Emma.
Thank
you.
I love merch, and I know most of you do as well. I mean, I like really, really love merch because I have an absurd amount of t-shirts. I don't even know how many I have because I've just been collecting them forever. And rockabilia.com is the place where you can start your collection or add to your collection. But please use this promo code 100 words or less. That gets you 10% off of your entire order. And Rockabilia, hanging out in the Midwest of the United States of America, shipping merch to you. I don't care what you're into. You will find something for yourself, for your family, your friends. If you're like, you know what, I want a Clash t-shirt and, you know, maybe how about something about for ZZ Top or Grateful Dead or Iron Maiden, Guns N' Roses, all of those things they have. You'll have a lot of fun tripping around their website, rockabilia.com, using that promo code, 100 words or less. And then that way the whole marketing thing works and it lets them know that, you know, this show sent you and then you get a discount on it. Everybody wins. Like I said, ships to you from the Midwest here in the United States of America, and it gets you lickety split, and it's all officially licensed. That means the bands get paid on this stuff. It is a great company and I love supporting them. So please visit rockabilia.com. 100 words or less is the promo code. Enjoy. What a fun one. It was even made more fun by the people attending it because by this time, I think Emma was probably one of the last chats that I was doing of the whole festival. And I could see the momentum of the fact that people like knew where to go and like knew what this whole thing was. And so it was a pretty packed room, and it was also cute because her significant other was there. So he was able to kind of, you know, watch and admire and be like, yo, that's cool. So, and maybe, you know, offer some commentary, as it were, because Emma referred to him a couple of times. But anyways, let's talk to Jack and Tyler from Foreign Hands. If you haven't listened to Foreign Hands and you love metalcore, like, just stop what you're doing and listen to the band. They are really, really good. I got to watch a few songs of them at this festival, and yeah, vintage Poison the Well, I would dare say. And then, you know, a lot more stuff thrown in there. But yeah, it was really, really cool. And it was cool to get to know them. So here is Jack and Tyler from Foreign Hands. I love Evil Greed so much because they are an amazing web source solution for bands and record labels, but more importantly, as the consumer, they get you merch and vinyl and whatever it is that you are looking for as a consumer, and they ship it directly to your house. So go to evilgreed.net first and foremost, and then use this promo code 100 words after you load up your cart with all of these different things, whether it's like some cool pre-orders they have going on right now, Spanish Love Songs new record, Dead Heat new EP, a Spinebreaker 12-inch. Like, they have so much cool stuff. And then on top of it, they have amazing merch from bands like Emma Ruth Rundle, Hex Vessel, Mizmor, Mutoid Man. You can kind of get the perspective that they're coming from because they work with select record labels and bands. Like, they don't open it up wide to everybody. They have a specific point of view. And if you like artistic heavy stuff, you absolutely will love this website. They're based in Berlin, Germany, but do not let you, the US consumer, that scare you off, because they ship worldwide and the shipping rates are very economical and it gets to you very fast. I know that's a lot of varies in there, but trust me, I've ordered from them and it's gotten to me here in California in like a week, which is incredible. So I'm not guaranteeing that will happen every single time because, you know, there's a lot of extenuating factors. I feel like I'm like a car salesman right now. A lot of, you know, nuances and caveats I'm giving there, but evilgreed.net is the place, and 100 words is the promo code. Order a bunch of stuff and you will not be sorry. evilgreed.net. Thank you, guys.
But yes, I am here with Jack and Tyler of the almighty Delaware powerhouse melodic hardcore band. Foreign Hands. That is my own description of you. So
thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. You're welcome. So I start these things off like my own kind of personal entry point to you, your band, and everything like that. And I remember it was probably around 2019 where I got keyed into you guys, and I worship at the altar of all things melodic hardcore because I myself played in a melodic hardcore band in the early 2000s. And so, like, if I hear a band that we could have toured with, I was like, why can they not exist back when we... Because, like, we toured a lot with a band like This Day Forward, which I know are huge influences on you guys. What I find interesting, because we're obviously different ages. You are younger than me. Yeah. What do you mean, yeah? I'm just kidding. But I find it interesting, like there are some people and younger people that just like get into hardcore, and that's like their inception point. They don't listen to it backwards, where they're like, oh yeah, this is... But you guys clearly are like, no. We love all the older stuff. We love the new stuff. But, like, walk me through why you guys obviously kind of, you know, went backwards, so to speak, to draw a lot of those influences, but then obviously put your own polish on it.
I can answer. Yeah, I mean, Tyler, our singer, and I have both been into that stuff for a while. Like, sure. When I was first getting into, like I was into metal and stuff when I was a kid, because sure. All my friends would give me, like, new metal CDs and shit like that.
Oh, hell yeah.
But I remember they used to do like the Music Choice on demand thing, where they had like on demand they had all the music videos.
Oh,
and
sure.
I think like Trustkill, Ferret, like they had their whole music video libraries on there. So I found Poison the Well, Martyr AD, It Dies Today, like just from watching music videos on demand, because that's how I would find bands. I would just like go through the on demand thing and like watch the music videos. So like, when I was getting into stuff that wasn't new metal, those were some of the bands that got me into it. And then I had some other friends who like showed me like Agnostic Front and stuff like that. So I kind of was in both worlds a bit, but always gravitated towards the more like metalcore side of things.
Right.
And Tyler, our singer, was the same way. We've always kind of bonded over liking all of those bands.
Yeah.
So when things really started picking up for us, we were like, okay, we love all these bands, you know, like This Day Forward, Poison the Well, Seven Angels, Seven Plagues, all that stuff. When things started picking up for us, we were like, nobody else is really doing this at the moment. Like, there were a couple bands. There's the band Renounced, who we fucking loved, and like they were doing it, and not many other bands were. And we were like, definitely into the whole metalcore revival thing.
Sure.
So we were like, well, let's do something like that, but try to embody more of the stuff that we are missing from other bands. And so we just kind of tried to channel all that, like
there's a lot there. You got new metal, you got
Right. No, I just like, you know, like the first two Poison the Well records for me when I was a kid, mainly Tear from the Red was like the big one for me. And I didn't really like, because I found them before I found hardcore, I didn't really know that they were like,
there's like a difference.
I didn't know that they were like hardcore adjacent or whatever. So when I got a little bit older and I was like going to shows and I would see people wearing like Poison the Well shirts and stuff like that, I was like, oh shit, I forgot about that band. And then I worked backwards to like their first EP and their first album, and kind of started realizing the connection there between like hardcore and all the bands that I'd listened to that I didn't realize were connected to hardcore.
No, because you're a kid. I like that description, because when you're a kid, you're not paying attention. Like, you know what a scene is. You're just like, a band's on the radio or TV, or they're not.
I literally just had them grouped in with like Killswitch Engage. I was like, okay, they're a big metal band. And then like when I was a teenager and I was going to hardcore shows, I like got back into them because I was like, I saw so many people doing it, and like bands would cover songs and like people would go crazy, and I was like, holy shit, like people know, people love this band.
Right.
And
nerdy is a thing. Okay, I see.
So yeah, I mean, that was just like shit like that and Converge and stuff. We just really wanted to start something that sounded like that. Just do something that we would want to listen to.
Right. Well, I really like you talking about the cycle. Like, when you get to I always apparently like to reference my age, but when you get to a certain age, you start to see these cycles go through where it's like, you know, whether it's like, a Youth Crew revival, where it's like early 2000s, where it's like Floor Punch, 10-Yard Fight, all that. And so it's like, sometimes it takes 5 to 10 years for those things to kind of, quote unquote, come back, where you're like, oh, like, that's cool. Now that band is putting their own twist to whatever it was that came before that. And it's like, because everybody's just ripping off each other. Like, you're just like, what band can I rip off the least worst? And then maybe we can start a band around that.
We always say like every breakdown has already been written. Like, you can't write a new breakdown. They've all already been written. So
yeah, you're like, what breakdown can we, or what two breakdowns can we put together that'll sound like us, that are just putting these other two things?
Yeah.
It's basically just a big jigsaw puzzle that all of us are trying to figure out. I also find it interesting, like, being from Delaware, like, that is a weird state. Like, it's just not common. You don't see, I mean, I think in my personal years of touring, I played one show in Delaware at a horrible place called the Chem Free Club, actually with This Day Forward. It was an awful show, as you could, like, I remember there was like a straight up white power band. It was just awful.
Crazy.
I know. So my experience with Delaware, and then obviously, like, you know, Year of the Knife, like, there's clearly always kind of been a scene, but it's been relatively small from a national perspective. What's your guys' perspective running into the fact that, like, hey, we're from Delaware and we're obviously playing shows and trying to, like, exist?
I mean, it's weird because when I was younger, like, there were a ton of local shows that I would go to, and like it was a lot of people who weren't necessarily, like, people would go there to hang out more than like see the bands and stuff like that.
Right.
And there were like two legacy Delaware bands. It was like Boy Sets Fire was from Delaware.
That's true. Wilmington, yep.
And then Joshua Fit for Battles from Delaware. So like,
I did not know Joshua. Okay, that's cool. I appreciate that.
So that's like the extent of like Delaware hardcore history. It's just like those were the only two bands that like made it out of Delaware.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, the shows there were really good for a while. Like, there's always been a really like thriving scene, especially because we're so close to Philadelphia.
Yep.
But there was definitely a while where there was like a dry spell. We lost all our venues and people stopped coming around. So it was mainly just this like core group of like 20 of us who have just all been playing in bands together like for the last 10 years.
Right.
And that's
just doing different versions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like when Year of the Knife started popping off, that kind of like put the state on the map for the rest of us, because they're people we've all been going to shows with and playing in bands with for years.
Right.
So I think, like it's starting to become more of a thing again, like it was when I was a teenager. Like, but it's still not great.
Sure.
It's never been huge for shows. Like you go to Philly or you go to New York or you go to Baltimore for like the shows, but there every now and then we'll get something cool going. It's just a matter of finding a stable venue.
Yeah,
for sure.
That you always find that with towns that are not on the common touring schedule, where it's like, oh yeah, I mean, even towns that are easy to get to, whether it's like in Albuquerque or something, where it's like, but still people don't make an effort to go there unless they're just driving through, where it's like, oh, I got to break up my drive.
I was going to say, I mean, you could drive through Delaware and not know it. Like,
that's true.
Completely. Like, you could totally just be driving through and like completely pass through the state and not even know that you did it. Like,
right.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, welcome to Delaware. Like, I guess we're in Delaware now.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the Wayne's World joke. Like,
yes.
I'm in Delaware.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah. The moment I moved there, I made that exact joke. Yes, absolutely.
So you where did you move from?
South Carolina.
Okay.
Yep.
That was that like not a culture shock, but was it like, oh, this is Delaware, so this like what are we doing here?
Yeah, I mean, it was cool just because like kind of similarly to Jack and like the rest of like the Delaware heads, like it's like South Carolina was always like the same 20 people playing in bands together for like 10 years, and I did it for about 10 years before I moved, and then it was like I moved and all of a sudden it was like, we're playing shows, like you said, we're playing shows in Philly, we're playing shows in Baltimore, like all these people are like around that are like doing relevant things within like the music arena or whatever. And yeah, so I mean, it was a culture shock is like a great way to put it, because like South Carolina, you could just like spin your wheels for forever, and then like that's another one of those states where people don't really like think to go through it all.
Yeah, you're not hitting Hilton Head.
Right, exactly.
No, there's no Hilton Head hardcore.
Right, exactly. I'm like, if you go through, you're hitting New Brooklyn Tavern. It's like the longest running venue. It's just been there for forever.
Yep.
That's where every band routes to, and it's like even the larger bands go there because they could just sell that out instead of doing like Music Farm or whatever else is around the larger venues. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, it was hard to do anything out there.
Sure.
And as soon as I moved, it was like, boom, like all ththese people who were doing like cool ass bands in Philly, like all my friends in Delaware and shit, like playing in like good and relevant bands and shit.
Sure.
So,
I think the idea is funny of being like, yo, I'm gonna move from South Carolina to the hot spot of Delaware. Even though it's like even though it's like there is, like you said, the proximity to other cities where you can pull from, but I just think it's funny where it's like, I'm not going to move to Philly, I'm going to move to Delaware, obviously, because it's cheaper to live there.
Yeah. It depends on where you're at, but yeah, like it can be that, and I mean, there were just opportunities on the table.
Totally.
So it was just like, it made sense.
Right, yeah, I get that. When it seemed to me, I mean, obviously I'm on the outside looking in, but when you guys, put out your ostensibly demo in 2018, 2019, whatever, it seemed like a lot of the internet paid attention. Like you guys started to receive attention and attraction relatively quickly. I mean, you guys were playing shows and working hard. What was it like? Do you remember the moment where you started to kind of like see your stuff outside of your circle of friends, where it was like, oh, dude, we're getting put up on this person's Instagram page, and like, what the hell, like we don't know that person or whatever. Do you remember some moments like that?
Yeah, I think, I mean, honestly, it was kind of too much to keep up with after Separation Souvenir came out.
Yep.
Like, we recorded the Bleed the Dream EP and put that out as a single, and then I feel like it was weird. It was like the first time where it was like a piece of music that we had put out had like started to pop up in new places and stuff, and then like we made connections with like our now manager Tom, and like that was kind of like the the moment it was like,
this is serious. Like we got a manager.
Yeah.
We're doing this for real.
Yeah, he was like, he hit us up like interested to like work with us and everything, and we sent him the EP, and I feel like it was just like cemented for sure. But
game on from that point. Yeah.
I don't remember any super specific stuff. So if you remember anything super specific.
It doesn't even have to be like obviously something huge, but I just know it's like those little moments where you get where it's like, dude, this person just mentioned us. Like I can't even believe that.
I think before the EP came out, those moments were pretty sparse.
Sure.
Back in 2019, we only had like our demo and our split out, and Knocked Loose took us out for like a week of shows, and that was really cool for us because we were like, we have not a lot of music, and like they like our band, they want us to play shows with them, so like that was really cool for all of us.
It's a great cosign. Like, come out tour with us. Like there's no reason they need to ask us besides.
Exactly.
So and cool.
I think we went so long just being like our friends in bands would be like, yo, you guys are sick, but like it seemed like not a lot of people that weren't in bands like were paying attention. And which is fine, like
totally.
Sometimes that's just how it is. But I think the EP coming out, like he said, like the single coming out, I should say, is when it's like it exploded outside of like our circle of friends. And
from being a band's band to being like
right
band, like
right. People are paying attention outside of like your extended group of friends or extended friends bands. It's like you're getting cosigns from people. You're just like, wow, I like your band. You like my band? Are you sure?
Yeah. I think because we didn't put out, like we went so long only putting out a couple songs at a time.
Sure.
I think that it was hard for people to really be invested.
That makes sense.
So when we finally got it together and put out the EP and all that jazz, I think that definitely helped having like an actual body of work that people could listen to instead of just like, oh, here's 2 demo songs, and here's 2 years later, here's 2 other songs.
Here's the single band that's just constantly punishing me with new music. But it's like, yo, what? Like, show me your EP, or show me your full length.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
That's the first time we had ever done anything visually too. Like that, I think that like honestly helped a lot. Like it was a completely DIY music video that we did for Separation. Like my girlfriend, who was a very talented photographer, but not at all a videographer, was just like, I'll like help you guys put this thing together. And she just directed. Never had ever shot any video before ever. And
it's amazing.
Yeah, and she just directed it, and we clipped it together ourselves.
Sure.
So DIY, like
totally. Use iMovie. Here we go. Now we got a music video, guys.
Yeah, exactly, and it worked. I mean, the just having the visual helped.
Sure. 2 last things I want to hit on was the because I know, especially with the style of music, anytime a band puts in melody, there's always that like, I don't know, like I can't mosh to that. Like what's and I know, I can almost guarantee for a fact you guys have played shows where you are obviously the quote unquote lightest band on the bill, and people look at you like you probably have 3 heads. Like, can you specifically recall a show where it's like, yo, like we did not like go over, we did not belong on that? And I'm not saying this to embarrass you. It's mostly just from the idea that like I know the moment that a band does not have a mosh call out when they should, and then they put in melody, people are like, I don't know about that. What's happening?
I mean, honestly, like it's funny to me because I feel like we were always like a heavy band.
Sure.
But I think like we were always on the more like technical, like crazy side of things, like before that stuff like came out. So I think we kind of like just ran into the same thing. It's like instead of like people being like, I can't mosh to this because it's too much. Now it was like, okay, well I can't mosh to this because it's like singy or whatever. So it wasn't like super different to like transition at first, but after a while, like I feel like you give people some time to learn the choruses and stuff like that. And then it starts to become more of a like, okay, well, they're not moshing, but they're singing now,
of course, right. We see the appreciation physically, except they're not obviously like punching each other. They're jumping on each other's shoulders.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. The first few, like, I feel like after the new stuff was out or like the Bleed the Dream stuff was out, I feel like there was a little while where it was like, okay, like, they're not really like singing along like we want them to yet. But,
yeah. Well, give them a moment.
Give them a time. Give them some time, stuff like that. But I feel like those worlds aren't completely different, the more technical. And,
Sure.
Yeah.
We did a tour back in 2018. It was like our first full US with a bunch of our friends.
Yeah.
And they were all like mosh bands.
Sure.
And we were not.
Yeah.
So that was probably, I mean, he wasn't in the band yet, but there were a lot of those shows where it was just kind of people were just like, they didn't know what to do.
No.
And at first I was frustrated because I was like, what are we doing wrong? And then I'm like thinking about it from an outside perspective, and I'm like, we don't have the mosh parts.
No, yeah, you're like, I get it. Like, they're just looking at us like, why aren't you like the other two bands? Like,
yeah, and I think that was something we tried to be more conscious of when we were writing Bleed the Dream, was like, not necessarily being heavy and having mosh parts, but like crowd participation.
Sure.
And being like, because before we just kind of like put songs together, and that was Bleed the Dream was when we really started thinking about like, oh, this part can be a cool sing-along part. Here's a cool mosh part.
Yep.
Stuff like that. So I think playing all those shows where people kind of just like didn't know what to do when they saw us helped us be like, all right, well, here's what we need to change to go over better in a live setting.
Of course, that's still you guys, but it's like just the fact that people are paying attention to you now. You're like, oh, so someone's gonna like my band, so I should probably, not like throw them a bone per se, but just be like, hey, you guys can participate.
Yeah, exactly. Like doing that, making it more palatable without sacrificing any of what we wanted to do was the goal.
Sure.
For it.
Yeah.
And I feel like since we put those songs out, it's definitely been, I mean, there's still like some times where we have to win people over for sure.
Of course.
But I think all things considered, the new stuff is a lot more palatable live, and people are more into it, which is awesome.
Sure. Yeah. No, it's very cool. The last thing I've been asking all the bands that I've had participate at this festival podcast thing, because I do think it's an age-old debate, and there's no wrong answer. Sing-alongs or stage dives, whether it's you're talking specifically about the way that people react to your band, or you personally, how you like to participate. I'll take either way, and there's no, again, wrong answer.
I always get dropped whenever I stage dive.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go sing along.
Sing-alongs, got it. So
I also like pile-ons are sick.
Pile-ons
I'm
are
always
sick.
down for like a pile-on, some stage diving, some sing-along stuff, but from my perspective, sing-alongs, because I've fucked myself up so many times trying to stage dive, and I'm just I'm
so
over it.
You're like it's probably on you, like you're just bad at it.
Yeah, that's probably what it is.
Okay, I just want to make it clear. Like, don't blame the crowd.
Oh no, it's definitely my fault.
Okay, good. Glad we cleared that up.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that both have like their own kind of like thing. Like, I feel like a good example is like Turnstile when they play. It's just stage dives.
Totally.
Like, and they have people like singing their stuff too, but like it's mostly just a sea of people like just crashing against the stage and then ricocheting off, which is awesome. And it's really cool. But I honestly think like there's something really special to sing-alongs. Like it's like people taking the time to, because my thing is like I will like know a song and mush-mouth it in my car forever. Like, I won't take the time to really learn the lyrics or whatever. I'll love the song. It'll be like my favorite song. But I won't take the time to learn the lyrics because I'm lazy. So, like, if someone takes the time to, like, learn your lyrics and they feel it enough to where, like, they're singing it back to you, I mean, that's just, like, there's something, like, special about it. And to have a room full of people, like, doing that, like, is insane.
Oh, totally. Like you can either experience it playing music, or you can be in a room where that happens, where it's like, I'm never going to forget that sing along.
Yep.
Like it, just because it's like you can tell it means so much to the band, the crowd, like it's everybody's participating. So
I dream about like one of those shows where it's like, and this sounds like stupid because you never want something like this to happen, but I like dream about one of those shows where it's like the power goes out or something.
Oh, hell yeah.
And then you just have the entire room carry the rest of the song.
Totally.
I think I would just I would be able to not do music anymore after that. I'd take that as my win and I'd go on about that.
Right. No, I think I really see a challenge moving forward with every four in hand set to cut the power out. Yeah. Basically from here on out, like we put it out there, and then that's where it'll go from there.
Yeah.
So, all right, cool.
Yeah.
Well, I genuinely appreciate you guys doing this. Thank you very much. Give it up to Four in Hands. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.
Oh boy, what a fun discussion with Dying Wish and Foreign Hands. I genuinely love to do those live podcasts because it brings a little different flavor. I try to ask a different line of questions and kind of keep it a little more, for lack of a better term, lighthearted. But it's just a lot of fun, and I really enjoy doing that experience. And I hope that you find, as much value in these live shows as you do the ones that we do on a normal basis. So yeah. That's my preamble, or no, this is a post-amble because it's the very end. But anyways, next week I have a great chat with, honestly, one of my favorite bands. I said chat, and I just realized that the band's name is Chat Pile, so that's a little redundant. But Reagan Bush, who is the vocalist of the band Chat Pile, I love them so much. Like, one of my favorite records of last year. And I've increasingly become more and more of a fan over time. And so I had to have Reagan over? Like, I invited him over to my house. I wish, maybe, at some point. But it was a great discussion. We talked about film and a bunch of other things because he's a big movie head. So that is what we got next week. And until then, please be safe, everybody.
Summer is almost here. Whether you're looking for a window AC or portable one that you can hide in your closet during winter, stay cool with HomeLabs. HomeLabs ACs are energy efficient, budget friendly, low noise, and easy to install, with smart features controlled via an app or voice assistant. See what thousands of satisfied shoppers on Amazon already know. HomeLabs provides innovative solutions for any season. Get amazing offers with code IHEARTHOMELABS at homelabs.com. Welcome home.
Watermelon is not just summer's fun fruit, but it is your family's budget-friendly fruit because you can use the whole watermelon. Use the rind, eat the fruit, drink the juice. And watermelon is versatile. Get creative and incorporate into savory salads, sweet sorbets, breakfast smoothies, and nighttime cocktails. Watermelon is juicy. Watermelon is tasty. Just look at the rind. It leaves a smile on your mind. Visit watermelon.org for summer recipes and how you can use the whole watermelon.
Now is the time to flex your footprint. With T-Mobile for Business and the nation's largest 5G network, inspiration can strike from virtually anywhere. So whether you're in the office, on the road, or on your PT not quite you'll be ready for the next big thing. After all, if geography doesn't limit your business, your network shouldn't either. Learn more at T-Mobile.com/now.